Write 3 9s on paper tonight and watch doors swing open by morning. Most people will ignore this simple act, and they will stay where they are. But those who dare to write it, those who charge it with faith, will see money move, obstacles vanish, and supply appear. Will you be the one who dares? In this teaching, I will show you why writing 999 is more than ink on paper. You will learn how it seals an ending and commands a beginning, how it pulls supply into visibility, and how it shifts the subconscious from fear into faith. You will discover why most ignore this law and stay bound to lack, while the one who writes, blesses, and declares sees sudden increase. By the end, you will not only know the secret of 999, you will have the words to charge it with power and the confidence to use it. You may have tried affirmations before. You may have prayed, hoped, or even begged, and still nothing seemed to change. You may have thought, maybe it just doesn't work for me. That is the great mistake. The law always works. The problem is not the law, it is the way you apply it. Most people beg instead of command, most whisper instead of decree, most hope instead of sealing the covenant. That is why 999 is so powerful. It is simple, it is clear, it is direct, and when you write it in faith, you declare, the old is ended, the new is begun, and my supply appears now. This is not guessing. This is not chance. This is divine law in action. And tonight I will show you how to make it work for you. Here is what I will share with you tonight. First, I will reveal why 999 is not random but covenant, why it carries the vibration of endings that open into beginnings. Then, I will show you exactly how to use it, how to write it, how to bless it, how to decree over it so that it multiplies. You will hear stories of sudden increase, of supply appearing overnight, of doors opening when all seemed closed. And before we finish, I will give you the master affirmation to speak as you write, the very words that turn ink into command and paper into covenant. Stay with me, for one simple act tonight can shift your tomorrow, and once you see the law in action, you will never again doubt the power of your own word. Here's something most people completely miss. They think of a number as only a mark on a page, nothing more than ink, digits without life, a scribble without meaning. But I tell you, numbers are not lifeless, they are not dead, they are not without charge. They carry vibration, they carry covenant, they carry the very rhythm of divine law. And of all the numbers, none speaks more clearly of completion than the number 9. 9 is the end of a cycle. 9 says, it is finished, and when you see it written 3 times 999, it does more than mark the end. It seals it, it stamps it into your subconscious. It declares with authority that the old has ended, that the door is closed, that nothing of lack or fear or bondage has power over you any longer, and that the new must appear, that increase must step in, that supply must fill the space that's been cleared. That is why I tell you to write it tonight, not tomorrow, not someday, but tonight, for writing 999 is not a game, it is a covenant. Think about how many hold on to things long after they should have been released. A job that drains them, but they won't let it go. A relationship that's finished, but they cling out of fear. A possession that carries the vibration of worry, but they clutch it because they can't imagine life without it. And what happens? They block the new. They wonder why supply doesn't flow. They ask why doors stay shut. And the answer is simple. You cannot receive with a closed fist. To receive, you must release. To step into the new, you must end the old. To see increase, you must close the door on lack. That is what 999 does. It's not chance, it's not superstition, it's divine shorthand. For the law of completion. When you write it, you say to your subconscious, this cycle is over. The old has no more power. The new is begun. And the subconscious, which never argues, never reasons, never questions, takes the order as law. It stamps it seals it, and it begins to rearrange your affairs to match. I remember telling the story of one who could not step into her true place of good because she clung to the old with fear. She feared letting go of her position, though it no longer brought her joy. She feared the end, so she stayed stuck, but when she finally released it, when she dared to let the ending come, her greater good appeared swiftly, in ways she could not have imagined. Do you see? Endings are not death, they are birth. Endings are not loss, they are preparation. Endings are not punishment, they are doors swinging open. Writing 999 is the act of stamping that truth into your own spirit, so that you no longer fear the end but welcome it as the beginning of abundance. So tonight, when you write 999, do not see it as 3 digits on a page. See it as the seal of divine law. See it as the end that opens the beginning. See it as the decree that tells the old to depart and the new to appear. And as you write, say within yourself, "This chapter is closed. My new supply is begun. Increase is mine by divine right." And when you do, you'll feel the shift. You'll sense the space opening. And before long, you'll see the proof in your affairs. That's the power of 999, and that's why it matters. And yet, even knowing this, most people never move. They stay stuck. They fear the end. They replay the old patterns over and over. Why? Let's look at that next. Because once you see why most people stay stuck, you'll understand why this simple act of writing 999 breaks the loop and frees you into abundance. What I'm about to tell you might sound familiar, because you've likely seen it in yourself, in friends, in family, in almost everyone you know. Most people live their whole lives repeating the same cycles over and over again, and the reason is simple. They fear endings. They fear letting go. They fear closing the book. And because they fear, they never allow the new to arrive. They clutch the old job even when it steals their joy. They cling to the old relationship even when it drains their soul. They hold on to the old possessions, the old ways, the old fears. And they call it loyalty. They call it safety. They call it wisdom. But in truth, it is fear, and fear always multiplies lack. Fear stamps itself into the subconscious and says, "Keep this pattern alive." And the subconscious, which records without question, which obeys without pause, keeps replaying it like a broken record. That's why people say, "Why does this always happen to me? Why do I always end up back where I started? Why does nothing ever change?" It is because they have never sealed the ending. They have never declared it finished. They have never stamped 999 inches faith. I knew a woman who clung to her position with all her might. She dreaded losing it. She dreaded change. She dreaded the unknown. She begged to keep what she had, thinking it was security. But that fear bound her, it kept her stuck, and the greater good, the true position waiting for her, could not arrive. Only when she let go, only when she dared to release, only when she stopped begging and started trusting law did the new opportunity appear, and it came swiftly, in ways she could never have planned or forced. What happened? The moment she released, the moment she allowed the ending, she made room for the new. She said, in essence, 999. She closed the chapter, and law rushed to fill the vacuum with something greater. And this is why I say to you, most people stay stuck not because the law has failed them, not because God has withheld from them, not because they are unlucky, but because they refuse to release. They fear the end, so they live in a loop. They replay the same relationships, the same disappointments, the same defeats, the same lack. And they call it life, but it is not life, it is bondage. Writing 999 breaks that bondage. It stamps the subconscious with closure. It tells the inner record keeper, this cycle is done, and it forces the pattern to change. It breaks the loop. It severs the chain. It commands increase to appear, because the space has been cleared for it to enter. So let me ask you directly, what are you still clinging to? What chapter have you left half closed, hoping it will stay alive, even though you know it's draining you? What pattern are you replaying because you fear to face the end? If you can name it, you can end it. If you can end it, you can replace it. And if you can replace it, you can multiply it. That is the law. 999 is the covenant of that law, written in digits. It's the way you tell your subconscious, I refuse to keep repeating this. I release it now. The old is done. The new is begun. And once you stamp that, once you bless that, once you seal that, you cannot stay stuck. The law will not allow it. Increase will appear. Now that you see why most people stay stuck, you can also see why such a simple act has power. It's not the ink on the page, it's the law in motion. And in the next part, I will show you exactly how 999 does its work in the subconscious, how it reprograms the inner law, how it seals new pictures and clears old grooves, and how it shifts you out of fear into faith. Stay with me, because this is where you'll understand the mechanics of it, the reason it works, and how to make it work for you every single time. Here's what most people never realize. The subconscious is the great servant of your life. But it is a servant without humor, without reason, without the ability to argue. It does not question, it does not analyze, it does not say, this is only a joke, this is only pretend, this is only chance. It records everything you give it and brings it forth in your affairs. That's why I've said so often, there is no such thing as a harmless word. Every idle word, every repeated phrase, every symbol you impress upon yourself is taken down by the subconscious as law. And once it has been recorded, it must outpicture itself. That is why so many remain in bondage. They keep feeding the subconscious with fear, with lack, with repetition of failure, and the subconscious, faithful and literal, reproduces it again and again. But what I am showing you now is that you can change the record. You can cut a new groove, you can stamp a new picture, and writing 999 is one of the simplest and clearest ways to do it. Think of it like this. Every time you repeat an act, you deepen the channel. Just as water cuts a path in the soil, repetition carves a path in the subconscious. When you keep saying, I'm afraid I'll lose everything, that path deepens, and soon the subconscious cannot help but bring forth more loss. When you whisper, nothing ever works out for me, that groove is cut, and the subconscious outpictures it without delay. That's why cycles repeat. But when you write 999 with intention, you're doing more than scribbling digits. You're placing a bold new picture in the subconscious. You're saying, this old cycle is finished, the loop is broken. I am ready for the new. And the subconscious, faithful servant that it is, stamps the order and begins rearranging your outer life to match the new command. I once told the story of a woman who always said in jest, I wish I lived in a trunk. She repeated it so often that her subconscious took it as law. And what happened? She found herself living in a trunk literally. That is how literal the subconscious is. It does not filter, it does not say, she didn't mean it, it obeys the repetition. Now think what happens when instead of foolish words, instead of fearful words, instead of careless words, you feed it a decree like 999. You are giving it a new command. You are cutting a new groove. You are sealing the picture of endings and beginnings, of release and increase. You are telling it, stop playing the old record, start a new one, and it cannot refuse. Do you see the beauty of it? You don't have to fight the old pattern. You don't have to resist it. You don't have to wrestle with it. You only have to replace it. You only have to give the subconscious a new picture, a stronger decree, a clearer command, and that's what writing 999 does. It is the law of substitution at work. You stamp the new until it takes root, and the old falls away. You repeat the number until the subconscious has no choice but to obey. And the more you write it, the deeper the groove is cut, the stronger the pattern is sealed, the swifter the outpicturing becomes. So I say to you, never despise this simple act. Never think, it's only a number, it's only ink. Numbers are symbols, symbols are pictures, pictures are commands to the subconscious. And the subconscious, once commanded, must bring it to pass. Tonight when you write 999, you are not doodling, you are stamping the end of the old, you are declaring completion. You are reprogramming your inner law to release the past and welcome increase. And once the subconscious is sealed with that new order, you will find life itself rushing to obey. And this is only the first layer of how it works. Because digits by themselves are not enough. Numbers without words are like a body without breath. In the next part, I'll show you how to clothe 999 with the spoken word, how to combine number with decree, so that it becomes not only a picture but a living command, alive with the power of faith. Stay with me, because this is the moment where digits come alive, and once you see it, you will never again write a number without speaking over it. What I'm about to share might seem counterintuitive at first, because the world has taught you to separate numbers from words, to treat digits as cold, neutral marks without spirit, while reserving power for speech alone. But here is the mystery. Numbers are vessels, and words are breath. Numbers provide the form, but words provide the life. A digit on its own may stand like an empty cup, but the spoken word fills that cup until it overflows. That is why I tell you, never to write 999 inches silence, never to mark it as though it were a lifeless habit, but always to clothe it with the word of decree, the word of blessing, the word of faith. For remember the scripture, by thy words thou art justified, and by thy words thou art condemned. Not by your digits, not by your scribbles, but by your words. Yet when you take a digit and join it to decree, when you take a symbol and charge it with speech, you unite body and breath, form and spirit, vessel and wine. Then it lives, then it breathes, then it carries power, then it multiplies. Think of it this way: a ticket for the lottery is nothing but paper until you charge it. You can hold it in your hand, you can see the digits printed there, but until you bless it, until you speak over it, it lies dormant. The moment you declare, "These numbers are blessed, these numbers are magnets for my supply, these numbers bring forth my divine right abundance," you have clothed it, you have given it a garment, you have breathed life into it. The digits have become a decree. They are no longer random, they are covenant. And this is what I want you to see with 999. Don't just write it as a formality. As you write it, speak. As you mark it, decree. Say, 999. The old is finished, the new is begun. My supply now appears under grace, in perfect ways. And the subconscious, which records every word as law, takes that union of number and speech as a command it cannot resist. Do you remember the story of the fog at sea? A ship was trapped, the way ahead was blocked, and the reasoning mind could only say, "We must wait, we must endure, we are at the mercy of the elements." But one aboard knew the law, and she did not whisper, she did not plead. She commanded, "I command this fog to lift, under grace, in perfect ways." And the fog lifted, the sun broke through, the ship moved on. What happened? The spoken word clothed the command, and even nature obeyed. If a fog can dissolve at the power of the spoken word, do you think your digits will remain idle when you clothe them with decree? Impossible. They must obey. They must come alive. They must carry the vibration into your affairs. So hear me clearly. 999 on paper without word is a sketch, but 999 with spoken decree is a covenant. Numbers alone are silent. Numbers joined with faith-filled words resound like trumpets. And the subconscious, which hears not intention but sound, not wish but command, is stamped with the vibration and rushes to obey. This is why I say, never separate the two. As breath animates the body, so word animates the number. As spirit fills the form, so decree fills the digit. And when the two are joined, they cannot be broken, they cannot be resisted, they cannot return void. Now do you see why I insist that every 999 you write be clothed in speech? Because this is how you turn form into force, picture into power, symbol into magnet. And if numbers clothed in words can lift a fog, can shift a ship, can change the very elements, then they can most certainly shift your affairs, dissolve your debts, open your doors, multiply your wealth. And once you begin practicing this union, you will never again waste digits, you will never again speak carelessly, because you will know by demonstration that words make numbers alive, and together they are unstoppable. And yet, there is one more step, because it is not only about clothing the digits with words, it is about blessing them, charging them with the energy of multiplication, just as the loaves and fishes multiplied when blessed. This is the secret of turning the little into the endless, and in the next part, I will show you exactly how blessing your 999 multiplies it beyond measure. Now we come to the part that changes everything, the part most people skip, the part the 99 never touch, and that is the act of blessing. For what is blessed multiplies, and what is cursed with fear shrinks and dies. This is a law, as unchanging as gravity, as steady as sunrise. And here is the mystery. Every digit you write, every symbol you draw, every figure you place before your eyes carries either the stamp of blessing or the stain of fear. If you write 999 inches doubt, in worry, in mere curiosity, you clothe it with weakness, you charge it with emptiness. But if you write it with blessing, if you speak over it with joy, if you declare over it with certainty, then the digits become a channel of increase, a magnet for supply, a covenant sealed with abundance. Blessing turns paper into purse, ink into gold, digits into decree. Do you not remember the story of the loaves and fishes? They were few. To the eyes of the disciples, they were not enough. But Jesus lifted them up. He blessed them, he gave thanks for them, and what was little became much, what was not enough became more than enough, what was a handful fed thousands with baskets left over. That is the power of blessing. It multiplies, it overturns appearances, it brings forth increase where the natural mind saw only lack. And this same power is yours when you bless your digits, when you bless your 999, when you declare, this is not a scribble, this is not a number, this is a channel for divine increase. These nines are blessed, they multiply, they open the door for my supply to rush in under grace in perfect ways. Say it with joy, say it with conviction, say it until you feel the vibration in your bones. For fear curses, but blessing multiplies. I once told the story of a woman who came to me with only $2 left. She could have cursed those $2. She could have wept over them, she could have begged for more. Instead, I told her, bless this money. See it crammed and jammed with supply. Declare that this purse is full, overflowing with gold and silver, with bills and checks, with endless abundance. She obeyed. She blessed instead of cursed. She declared instead of doubted. And soon she was given $6,000, an increase far beyond her imagination. Do you see? The number in her purse did not multiply by chance. It multiplied by blessing. The law responded to her decree. The subconscious, stamped with a new picture, brought it forth. So when you write 999, do not leave it naked. Clothe it in blessing. Say, 999, you are blessed. You are the end of lack and the beginning of increase. You are my covenant of completion. You are the door to new supply. You multiply as loaves and fishes multiplied. You expand as seed planted in fertile soil expands. You grow as rivers overflow their banks. You are blessed, and you cannot fail. And as you speak, feel the shift. The digits begin to hum. The subconscious records the blessing. The law prepares the increase. And before long, what you blessed will return to you multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Never again curse with fear. Never again speak over your digits with doubt. Never again treat 999 as empty. Always bless, always declare, always charge it with the vibration of multiplication. For blessing is the key that turns completion into overflow, ending into abundance, closure into increase. And once you bless your numbers faithfully, you will know by demonstration that what is blessed multiplies and what is cursed with fear fades. And now that you understand how to bless, how to clothe digits with words, how to reprogram the subconscious with pictures of faith instead of fear, let me take you into the next unveiling. For it is one thing to know that 999 changes the inner record, but another to see how swiftly it changes. The outer world, how quickly the law moves when you have stamped the ending, clothed it with word, and blessed it with multiplication. This is the overnight law of 999, and once you see it, you will never again believe in delay. What I am about to reveal may astonish you, for the world has trained you to believe in long delays, in waiting, in struggle, in the grinding passage of time. You have been told that everything of value must come slowly, that results are always far off, that wealth can only be earned by years of toil, and that miracles are reserved for ancient times or extraordinary saints. But I tell you, delay does not belong to law, delay belongs to doubt, delay belongs to fear. Delay belongs to those who speak 2 words in faith and then 10 words in contradiction. The law itself is immediate, the subconscious is always at work, and the supply is ready to appear as swiftly as the morning sunday. That is why I say to you, write 999 tonight, clothe it with decree, bless it with faith, and then rest. For while you rest, the law does not rest. While you sleep, the subconscious continues its work. While your eyes are closed, your word is alive, active, moving, arranging, preparing, and by morning you will see signs, you will feel shifts, you will know that the increase has begun. Let me paint the picture plainly. A woman once told me she had only $8 left to her name. To the reasoning mind, it was the end. To the world, she was finished. But she felt a hunch, a still small voice within her saying, act, move, trust. She did not reason, she did not wait. She did not say, perhaps someday. She declared her supply. She obeyed the hunch, and soon, out of nowhere, channels opened, doors swung wide, opportunities appeared, and she received thousands. Was it luck? Was it chance? No. It was law. She asked, she acted, she expected, and the law brought it forth. That is the overnight rhythm of 999. It is not superstition, it is not magic, it is divine. Order. Ask in faith, act in alignment, expect without wavering, and then rest while the subconscious does its perfect work. And here is the mystery: the subconscious never sleeps. It is at work 24 hours a day, carrying out the orders you have impressed upon it. If those orders are fear, it multiplies fear. If they are doubt, it multiplies doubt. But if you stamp it with 999, if you clothe it with decree, if you bless it with faith, it multiplies increase even while you sleep. That is why so often supply arrives by morning, why debts dissolve overnight, why doors open suddenly, why channels of money, health, and opportunity appear when you wake. Because the work was done in the night season, unseen by your eyes, but carried out faithfully by the law. I knew a woman who feared her rent would not be paid. She had no plan, no channel, no resource. But she spoke her word. The money I need comes quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. She walked in peace, she slept in faith, and by morning the law had arranged the answer. As she took her dog out for a walk, the leash pulled her down a street she did not usually take. And there, lying on the ground, was the money she needed. Exact to the dollar. Was that chance? Was it coincidence? No. It was her word alive, her subconscious at work, the law arranging the details overnight so that the need was met in perfect time. So I ask you, why should you keep waiting when the law is immediate? Why should you keep believing in delay when the subconscious is already at work? Why should you stay in fear when one decree can set the whole process in motion while you sleep? Write 999 tonight, bless it, clothe it, declare the old ended and the new begun, and then rest. Stop worrying, stop doubting, stop questioning. For as surely as the dawn comes without your effort, so the supply will come when you rest in law. That is the overnight law of 999, and once you prove it, you will never again believe that wealth must be slow, that increase must take years, that change must crawl. You will know that faith moves faster than fear, that decree outruns delay, that the law is as swift as light. And now that you see the swiftness, now that you understand the overnight power of 999, let me open the next door for you. Because 999 is not only about speed, it is about design. It is not only about sudden supply, it is about the divine pattern that undergirds your whole life. For these digits are not random. They carry within them the reflection of the square of life, the fourfold covenant of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. And when you see how 999 seals that pattern, you will understand why it cannot fail. Stay with me, for what I am about to show you is the divine design hidden in digits, and once you see it, you will never again treat numbers as chance. Here's something most people overlook because they think numbers are neutral, mechanical, without meaning beyond arithmetic. But I tell you, every number carries vibration, every digit holds a charge, every sequence echoes divine law. 9 is the number of completion. It is the end of a cycle, the closing of a circle, the declaration that something is finished. And when that 9 is written 3 times 999, it becomes a seal, a triple stamp, a decree that cannot be broken. It says to the subconscious, this is ended once and for all. The old cycle is closed, the pattern is dissolved, the door is shut, and now the new must appear. And here is the beauty. The moment you declare an ending, you are already preparing for a beginning. The moment you close one chapter, you are already opening the next. The moment you release the old, you are already making room for the new. That is why 999 is so powerful. It doesn't just end, it ends with purpose. It ends with promise. It ends with a call to fullness. But the mystery goes deeper still. For life itself rests on a divine pattern, a square of 4 corners: health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. These are the pillars upon which your whole being rests, and when one corner is weak, the whole square is shaken. But when all 4 are strong, the foundation is unshakable. And 999, though it is 3 digits, ties itself to this fourfold covenant. How? Because completion in one area always prepares the way for wholeness in all. When you declare 999, you are saying, this old lack is finished, and now I welcome health, wealth, love, and expression in their fullness. 9 is the seal, but it points to the square. 9 ends the cycle, but it points to the foundation. 9 says, enough of the old, and the four corners say, here is the new. Think of a builder who sets out to raise a house. He cannot begin the walls until the four corners of the foundation are measured and true. If one corner is off, the whole structure tilts. But once the four corners are sealed, the house can rise strong, steady, and beautiful. That is what 999 does for your life. It seals the old pattern. It prepares the new ground. It calls the four corners into alignment. Each 9 is like a measuring line saying, this chapter is closed, this foundation is ready. And when you repeat it 3 times, you make the decree sure. You stamp it as covenant. You leave no opening for fear to creep in. So, tonight, when you write 999, see it not only as the end of what you no longer need, but as the laying of a foundation for the square of life. Say as you write, 999, the old is finished, the new is begun. I am whole in health, I am rich in wealth, I am fulfilled in love, I am free in self-expression. My foundation is sealed, my covenant is true, my increase is certain. Do not rush the act, do not treat it lightly. See each 9 as a pillar, see the 3 together as a seal, see the foundation beneath you becoming solid, immovable, prepared for all that is yours by divine right. And once the design is sealed, once the subconscious is stamped with the pattern, you will see your affairs rearrange themselves to match. Health will spring forth, wealth will multiply, love will harmonize, expression will open because the law must outpicture what has been imprinted within. And here is the wonder. Once sealed, the pattern cannot be erased. Just as a cornerstone cannot be shifted without tearing down the whole house, so a subconscious pattern sealed with decree and repetition cannot be undone by fleeting fear. It stands. It holds. It continues to produce. This is why I say never write 999 once and then forget it. Seal it daily. Repeat it until the groove is cut deep. Bless it until the subconscious has no choice but to obey. Declare it until the law itself echoes back your decree in manifestation. For 999 is not a number you visit once, it is a covenant you renew. And every time you renew it, you strengthen the foundation, you drive the pattern deeper, you make the outpicturing swifter. Now that you see this design, now that you understand how 999 ties into the square of life, let me show you how to walk it out daily. For it is one thing to write it once, to feel the power for a moment, but it is another to live in it, to breathe it, to treat every act as a decree, every number as a covenant, every day as a sealing of law. In the next part, I will show you how to live daily by 999, how to stop begging, start commanding, and walk in abundance as naturally as you breathe. This next part may be the most important of all, because it is not enough to have written 999 once in a moment of faith, not enough to have felt the thrill of completion for a single night, not enough to have spoken the decree and then fallen back into the old posture of doubt and pleading. To make the law alive in your life, to see it bear fruit in season and out of season, you must walk in it daily. You must treat 999 not as a ritual you try when desperate, but as a covenant you live by as naturally as breath. For the 99, approach supply as beggars. They say, please, if only, maybe someday, and in doing so, they bind themselves to lack. But the one who lives by law speaks as commander, not as beggar. They say, this is mine by divine right, it comes to me swiftly, under grace, in perfect ways. They do not plead, they declare. They do not wait, they command. They do not bow to chance, they live by law. And that is what daily living by 999 means. To treat every act as a decree, every number as a covenant, every transaction as a channel for divine supply. Picture it. A businessman stands at the brink of collapse, his opportunity moments away from vanishing, his funds empty. To the reasoning mind it is hopeless, to the fearful heart it is disaster. But instead of begging, instead of breaking, he declares, the supply I need appears now, under grace, in perfect ways. He commands, and law obeys. Within 15 minutes, the money is in his hand, the door is open, the ruin dissolved. Was that chance? No, it was command. It was faith clothed in decree. It was the daily posture of law proving itself in the hour of need. This is the difference between one who begs and one who commands. And when you write 999 daily, when you bless it, when you decree over it, you train your subconscious to live in command, to expect supply, to draw it like a magnet. So make it your habit. Each morning, write 999 and speak over it. The old is finished, the new has begun. My health is whole, my wealth is multiplied, my love is fulfilled, my self-expression is free. My supply comes today, under grace, in perfect ways. And then live the day as though it is true, because it is. When you spend, bless the money and declare it multiplied. When you receive, give thanks and declare more on the way. When you touch a code, when you press digits, remember the covenant and renew it silently. Let no act be empty, let no number be idle, let no transaction be casual. Fill each one with decree, and over time, you will find that 999 is no longer only on the page, it is in your rhythm, in your thought, in your very breath. You will be living it, not visiting it. And here is the beauty. When you live daily by 999, wealth ceases to feel like an event you are waiting for. It becomes a stream you walk in, a flow you trust, a rhythm you move with. It is no longer a question of if supply will appear, but only how swiftly, how beautifully, how perfectly it will manifest. You will not strain, you will not chase, you will not plead. You will declare, you will bless, you will command, and you will watch the law outpicture your word again and again. This is the daily walk of 999, and once you make it your habit, you will never again doubt that abundance is yours. And now, having shown you the power of the daily practice, we come to the closing seal of this teaching. For it is not enough to hear you must anchor it, it is not enough to know you must declare it. In the closing, I will give you the affirmation that seals this lesson into your heart and a call to step into the next revelation, the greater word that crowns even 999. Stay with me, for the end of this teaching is the beginning of another, and the door ahead is greater than the one we have just walked through. And now, beloved, as we draw this lesson to its seal, let me press the truth deep into your spirit, so that it cannot be shaken by appearances, so that it cannot be stolen by doubt, so that it cannot be erased by fear. You have walked with me through the mystery of 999, and you now know it is not a scribble, not a superstition, not a play of digits on paper. It is covenant. It is decree. It is divine shorthand for the law of completion and increase. You have seen that endings are not loss but preparation, that release is not weakness but strength, that writing 999 is a way to stamp the subconscious with closure and open it to new supply. You have seen how numbers without words are lifeless, but, clothed in decree, they come alive. You have seen how blessing multiplies, how fear curses, and how the law always responds to the picture you impress upon it. You have heard stories of sudden supply, of money arriving by morning, of doors opening just in time, and you know now that delay belongs not to law but to doubt. You have seen the design, the square of life upheld by health, wealth, love, and self-expression, and you have learned to seal it daily, to live not by chance but by command. So I leave you with this affirmation, and I charge you to speak it until it lives in your bones. I now write 999 inches faith. I declare the old ended, the new begun. My numbers are blessed. My words are law, and my supply grows by morning, under grace, in perfect ways. Let this be the seal upon your lips each time you write, each time you speak, each time you step into the rhythm of decree. Do not let it be a phrase you visit once, but a covenant you renew daily, until the subconscious knows nothing else, until the law has no choice but to outpicture it, until your whole life testifies that divine supply never fails. And let me say this plainly, do not stop here. What you have received is powerful, but it is not the end, it is the beginning. For numbers are mighty, but there is a word more powerful still, a single word more ancient than digits, more charged than symbols, more immediate than any formula. It is the word that has opened seas, toppled walls, and commanded supply with swiftness that stuns the reasoning mind. Most never speak it, most never know it, most never dare to wield it, and yet in my next teaching I will place it in your mouth. I will give you that word, I will show you how to speak it, and you will see that it crowns even 999, that it moves wealth swifter than digits, that it is the command heaven bends to hear and earth rushes to obey. So take this step with me, write 999 tonight, bless it, decree it, seal it. And then, when you are ready, step through the next door with me, and receive the word that crowns them all. Click here, follow me into the next revelation, and I will place in your mouth the very word that no force of lack can withstand. And before I release you fully from this teaching, I want you to pause and take a long breath and recognize where you now stand, because you are not the same as when you pressed play. You are not the same as when you first heard me say, "Write 999 on paper tonight." For now you know, and once you know, you cannot unknow. Once you have seen, you cannot unsee. Once the truth has been spoken, it echoes forever in the chambers of your spirit. You have walked with me line by line, story by story, decree by decree, and you have been shown that 999 is not a superstition, not a passing curiosity, but a key, a code, a covenant that shuts the door on the old and throws wide the gates of the new. And if you will dare to take the pen in your hand and write it tonight, not casually, not idly, not as a test of chance, but as a decree of faith, you will see what happens. You will see the old dissolve, you will feel the weight lift, you will sense the shift in the air around you, and you will know that divine law has already begun to rearrange your affairs to bring you what is yours by right. So let this be your practice from this night forward. Never fear an ending again, for every ending is a beginning in disguise. Never despise small acts again, for each one is a seed of law. Never curse what you hold, but bless it, for what you bless multiplies. Write 999 with intention, clothe it with word, bless it with joy, and rest in the certainty that while you sleep, the subconscious is already at work, bringing forth increase, arranging channels, setting the stage for your wealth to appear by morning. And when it does, do not call it luck, do not call it accident, call it what it is, law, divine law, unfailing and eternal. But I cannot leave you without opening the next door, because what you have received here is rich, it is powerful, it is enough to transform your life, and yet it is only the beginning. Numbers are mighty symbols, but there is one word, one living word, that moves faster than any digit, that cuts deeper than any formula, that carries the fire of creation itself. It is the word most people never speak, the word most people never even suspect, and yet it is the crown of command, the scepter of decree, the key that unlocks treasures no hand can shut. In my next teaching, I will not only name it, I will place it in your mouth. I will show you how to speak it so that heaven bends to hear and earth rushes to obey. And you will see by demonstration that nothing is greater than the word. So take this as both a seal and an invitation. Tonight, write 999, bless it, decree it, seal it. Let your whole being hum with the rhythm of completion and beginning, of ending and increase, of law and action. And then, when you are ready for the crown of this teaching, step with me into the next revelation, where the single word that outruns digits will be given to you. Do not stop here, for this is not the end, it is the bridge. Step across and see what waits beyond. And now, beloved, as I bring this teaching to its highest peak, I must remind you that everything we have spoken until now has been preparation, foundation, rehearsal for something greater. For 999 is powerful. Yes, it is a seal of completion, it is a covenant of release, it is a stamp of closure that swings open the gates of the new. It ends cycles, it dissolves fear, it tells the subconscious to break the loop and prepare the field for increase. But beyond numbers, beyond symbols, beyond all forms, there is the Word. The Word was in the beginning, the Word was with God, the Word was God. It is the living fire that gives life to numbers, the breath that clothes digits with spirit, the force that creates worlds and sustains universes. And while the act of writing 999 aligns you with completion and new beginnings, the act of speaking the word aligns you with creation itself. Numbers point, but the word commands. Digits seal, but the word breathes. And I tell you plainly, there is one word that has carried the vibration of victory through every age, one word that has moved mountains, parted seas, broken chains, opened doors, and released wealth faster than any figure or formula. Most never speak it, most never dare to test it, most wander in darkness with symbols and neglect the light of the word itself. But those who do speak it, those who clothe their decrees with it, those who stamp their digits with it, find that supply moves instantly, without resistance, without delay. They discover that the word is not just sound, but substance, not just vibration, but law. This, beloved, is where I must lead you next. For as much as you now know of 999, as much as you now feel the power of endings and beginnings, as much as you now sense the shift in your spirit, you must not stop here. You must step forward into the next revelation, into the living word that crowns everything we have built. So hear me and hold fast to this. Write 999 tonight, yes, and bless it. Write it and decree over it. Write it and feel the old dissolve. But know in your heart that even this is but a stepping stone, a forerunner, a whisper of the greater sound that waits for you. And when you are ready, when you have sealed the covenant of endings and beginnings, when you have walked in the daily practice of command, I will give you that word, I will place it on your tongue. I will show you how to wield it so that your every decree carries the fire of creation itself. Do not delay. Do not hesitate. Do not linger with only half the treasure. Step into the fullness. For numbers may point the way, but the word carries you through. The difference between poverty and riches is not hard work, it is not luck, it is not chance. It is one formula, one law of divine supply that makes money rush to you when you speak it. If you are poor today, it is because you have not yet applied it, but when you do, riches will obey your command. In this lesson, I will give you the has-shown formula to get rich off divine supply. You will learn the exact words to speak daily that unlock your fortune. You will see why so many prayers for money fail and how this one command reverses poverty and makes supply flow. If you have ever feared bills, debts, or lack, what I give you today will end that fear and open a new chapter of freedom. You have been told wealth is for the few, that you must labor, save, and struggle. But I tell you, money is obedient. It is not master but servant. It comes when called in the right way. The problem is most people call it by false names: hard, scarce, difficult, not enough. They beg it as if it were their master. And so money hides from them. But when you call it by its true name, when you use the formula of divine supply, it comes at once, faithfully, joyously, without toil. I will show you how to speak this formula until it becomes the law of your life. Stay with me, for in this lesson I will open the treasury of divine supply. First, I will reveal the exact formula you must speak daily to command riches. Then, I will show you why the world has failed, why their words have cursed them instead of blessing them. I will give you stories of men and women who turned their last dollar into a river of abundance by applying this law. And finally, I will arm you with affirmations so strong they will shatter fear and make money flow as faithfully as water down a hill. Do not expect the usual teaching, expect a revelation. For if you stress about money, today that stress ends. And if you long for riches, today you learn the formula that makes them appear. Here's something most people completely miss, and because they miss it, they remain trapped in the circle of lack. Every word you speak plants a seed. Your tongue is the plow, your subconscious is the soil, and your affairs are nothing more than the harvest of the words you have sown. You may think your words vanish into the air, light as breath, gone in an instant, but they do not vanish. They travel forth, they take root, they set law in motion, and they return clothed in circumstances, clothed in supply, clothed in experiences that match the very vibration you sent out. This is why the scripture declares, life and death are in the power of the tongue. With every word you speak, you are sowing life or death, poverty or wealth, chains or freedom. Think of the farmer in his field. If he plants corn, he cannot reap roses. If he sows weeds, he cannot expect wheat. The harvest is always in kind with the seed, so it is with your life. The words you have spoken yesterday are the crop you are standing in today. If your speech has been filled with fear, complaint, and curses, then your field will be overrun with weeds. If your speech is filled with blessing, faith, and praise, then your field will be rich with wheat. It cannot be otherwise, for the law is exact and unfailing. Words are not idle, they are seeds, and seeds never fail to produce their kind. Many people excuse themselves and say, "But I was only joking, I didn't mean it." Yet the subconscious does not laugh. It has no sense of humor. It does not ask if you meant it or not. It hears only the command. It obeys the words spoken, whether in jest or in earnest. I once knew a woman who, tired of her home, often said with a laugh, "I wish I lived in a trunk." She thought it clever, she thought it harmless. But her words were seeds, and the subconscious took them as law. In time, her affairs collapsed until she was literally forced to live out of a trunk. Another woman, well provided for, was in the habit of saying, "I am getting ready for the poorhouse." She repeated it so often, half in jest, that her subconscious accepted it as truth. And not long after, she was reduced to the brink of destitution. These are not coincidences, they are demonstrations of law. But here is the comfort, and it is a glorious comfort. The same law that brings lack can bring plenty. The same tongue that cursed can bless. The same word that chained you can free you. A woman once came to me with only $8. She was fearful, trembling, discouraged. Her words had been full of complaint. "I never have enough, I don't see a way out, money always slips away." Those seeds had borne their bitter harvest. But I told her, "We will bless the $8 and we will multiply it. Let us declare, God is my supply, and money now flows to me quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways." She obeyed. She turned her complaint into blessing, her curse into praise. And soon after, she was led to an old friend who opened for her a channel of abundance, and thousands came rushing into her life. She said afterward, "Tell everyone about the woman who had $8 and a hunch." And so I do, because it proves the law. Words are seeds, and the harvest comes swiftly when you sow in faith. So I ask you, what have you been planting? What is growing in your field today? Look around you. Your conditions are nothing but the crops sprung from yesterday's words. If you want a new harvest, sow new seeds. Never again say, "I am broke." Say instead, "I am rich in divine supply." Never again say, "I can't afford." Say instead, "God makes a way for me, and I have more than enough." Never again sigh, "It never works for me." Say instead, "Everything I do prospers, for I am aligned with divine law." Plant these seeds, and the harvest cannot fail. This is why I say, your word is your wand. Wield it with care. Speak only what you desire to see. Refuse to plant weeds with careless complaints. Bless your money, bless your work, bless your health, bless your future, and the field of your life will grow green with abundance. For words, plant your fortune, and the harvest is always sure. And now that you see how words plant seeds in the soil of your life, you must understand another truth. The subconscious never laughs. It takes every word, whether you mean it or not, as a command, and that is where most people lose their fortune without knowing it. Here is a truth so many stumble over, and yet it is the very reason why their lives seem to unravel without warning. The subconscious has no sense of humor. It does not laugh. It does not wink. It does not excuse you when you say, "I didn't mean it." It takes every word, every phrase, every casual statement as law, and it works day and night to fulfill what has been spoken. The reasoning mind may chuckle at your words, your friends may laugh, but the subconscious does not laugh, it obeys. That is why Jesus warned, "By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." There is no escape. Every word plants itself in the soil of the subconscious, and the harvest is sure. I have seen it too many times to doubt it. A woman once said over and over, half in jest, "I am sick and tired of this home. I wish I could pack it up and live in a trunk." She thought she was being clever, she thought it harmless. But the subconscious, hearing her words, set to work to make them law. Her circumstances collapsed until she was forced to live out of a trunk. Another woman, comfortably provided for, repeated often, "I suppose I'll end up in the poorhouse." She said it laughing, but the subconscious does not laugh. In time, her fortune dwindled, and she stood on the very edge of poverty, staring at the things she had joked into being. These are not tales of chance, they are the exact demonstration of law. So I tell you, with all the force of truth, never joke about poverty, never jest about failure, never make light of disease, never toss careless words into the air and say, "It doesn't matter." For every word matters. Every word is a seed, and the subconscious is a faithful servant. It cannot distinguish between jest and earnest, between truth and lie, between what you fear and what you desire. It simply records the vibration and brings it forth into form. The man who constantly says, "I can't afford it," will soon be unable to afford anything. The woman who sighs, "I always get the worst of it," will surely see that law fulfilled. The one who declares, "I never get ahead," will find his path blocked at every turn. They may protest, "But I didn't mean it." The subconscious answers, "It is law, for you spoke it." Yet here is the glory: the same law that binds you can free you. Just as the subconscious obeys careless curses, it obeys deliberate blessings. When you speak truth, when you declare abundance, when you affirm health, when you pronounce freedom, the subconscious takes those words and shapes them into your affairs. One student of mine began to say daily, "I have a magic purse. It is crammed, jammed with money. It can never be depleted." At the time she had only $2, but she refused to call it little. She called it abundant, overflowing, inexhaustible. Soon she received a gift of $6,000. Her words, once planted, grew into a harvest she could not have imagined. So I ask you, what words are you scattering as jokes, as complaints, as idle chatter? Look closely, for they are shaping your tomorrow. Your subconscious is recording them now, etching them into the law of your life. If you do not wish to live them, do not speak them. Guard your tongue. Train it to bless, to affirm, to declare only what you desire to see. Refuse to curse yourself with careless humor. Refuse to set in motion a harvest of weeds, for the subconscious does not laugh, it obeys. This is why I tell my students, never say anything you do not want to come true. Never let your tongue paint pictures you do not wish to live. Speak only life, only wealth, only health, only joy, and your subconscious will shape your affairs to match. And now that you understand the subconscious takes every word as law, whether spoken in jest or in fear, you are ready to see the great reversal, how curses can be broken, how blessings can be spoken, and how one new word can undo years of bondage. Here is the glory of divine law, and it is this: no curse is final, no careless word is eternal. No past mistake has the power to bind you when you turn and speak the word of truth. The same tongue that cursed you can bless you, the same lips that imprisoned you can set you free, the same speech that sowed weeds can now scatter seeds of wheat, and the same law that seemed against you will fight for you the very moment you reverse your words. People often come to me saying, "Have I ruined my life by the things I have spoken? Have I cut myself off from good by years of complaint, of fear, of false affirmations?" And I tell them, no. The law is merciful. What has been planted in ignorance can be uprooted in wisdom. What has been spoken in fear can be overturned by faith. What was once a curse can now be replaced by blessing. Consider again the woman who came to me with only $8, trembling, filled with dread. Her past words had been curses. She had said, "This is not enough. I will never get ahead. I always fail." And her life obeyed her. But when I told her, "We will bless the $8, and we will multiply it," she obeyed. She took the same tongue that had cursed her money and used it to bless her money. She said, "I bless this money, and it multiplies. I bless this seed, and it grows." And within days, a door opened, an old connection was revived, and thousands flowed into her life. She said afterward, "Tell people about the woman who had $8 and a hunch." And so I do. For she proves this law: blessing breaks curses, praise multiplies supply, and a new word of truth can rewrite the records of years. Another student told me she was in the habit of saying, "Money slips through my fingers." She thought she was describing her condition, but she was creating it. Her subconscious, faithful and exact, kept money slipping away from her no matter how much she earned. I told her, "Stop speaking the curse, speak the blessing. Say instead, money sticks to me. Money stays with me. Money serves me faithfully, and I use it wisely." She obeyed. At first she felt foolish, for her purse was empty. But she continued, and soon she noticed a change. Gifts came, investments held, her savings grew. One day she exclaimed, "It is as though money has turned into my servant." And indeed it had, for her words had reversed the curse. This is the great principle. Every negative word has its positive reversal. If you have been saying, "I am always unlucky," you may replace it with, "I am divinely guided, and everything I do prospers." If you have been saying, "I can't afford it," you may replace it with, "God makes a way for me, and I have more than enough." If you have been saying, "I am sick of this," you may replace it with, "I bless this, and it multiplies into good." The law does not hold grudges. The moment you speak the new word, the moment you plant the new seed, the moment you bless instead of curse, the harvest begins to change. I want you to picture your words as the rudder of a great ship. For years, you may have turned that rudder towards storms, reefs, and disaster, and the ship of your life has followed. But at any instant, you may turn the rudder. At first, the waves may still toss, the winds may still howl, but the ship is turning. Soon you find yourself in calmer waters, and eventually you sail into safe harbors of abundance. The moment you reverse your words, you reverse your course. So I ask you, what curses will you break today? What blessings will you begin to speak? Will you go on saying, I am poor, or will you say, I am rich by divine right? Will you go on saying, I never get ahead, or will you say, I advance quickly, safely, joyously, under grace? Will you go on saying, everything is hard, or will you declare, everything comes to me easily, under grace, in perfect ways? The choice is yours, and the law will obey either way. For remember this, no curse can withstand the blessing, no fear can stand against faith, no bondage can resist the spoken word of truth. From this moment forward, turn your tongue into an instrument of blessing. Speak only what you desire to see. For the word of blessing will multiply your supply, and your life will become the visible proof that the curse is broken and the harvest is good. And now that you see how curses can be overturned and blessings can multiply, let us step into the next revelation, the very formula itself. The daily word that unlocks the vaults of heaven and makes supply hasten to your side. Now that you understand words are seeds, let me show you the greatest secret most people never dare to believe. Money itself is divine substance. It is not wicked, it is not cruel, it is not scarce. It is not hard to get. These are the false names men and women have placed upon it, and because they call it by those names, money flees from them. The law is exact whatever you name a thing, that it becomes to you. If you call money scarce, it will be scarce. If you call it hard, it will be hard. If you call it dirty, it will slip from your hands. But if you call it abundant, obedient, faithful, and ever-flowing, it will hasten to prove itself so. Do you not see? Money is nothing more than a symbol, a channel through which the inexhaustible riches of God flow into form. God is the source, money is the servant. God is the fountain, money is the stream. When you despise the stream, you block the fountain. When you bless the stream, you keep it flowing. That is why I teach my students to say, daily, God is my supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. This is the formula, the key, the law in words. It is not a string of pretty phrases, it is a command. It is a declaration to the universe, and the universe must obey. Let me give you proof. A woman once came to me with only $2 in her purse. Fear and despair were written on her face. She said, "How can $2 be enough? How can I live?" I told her, do not curse the purse, do not despise the small seed. Call it full, call it overflowing, call it inexhaustible. I gave her an affirmation. My purse is a magic purse. It is crammed, jammed with money. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, immediately money comes in. It is always crammed, jammed, packed with abundance. She obeyed. She refused to call it empty. She refused to say, only $2. She spoke as though it were bursting with plenty. And in a short time, a gift of $6,000 was placed in her hands. $2 became $6,000 because she stopped cursing and started blessing. She called money by its right name. The world will mock this. The reasoning mind will sneer, you cannot get money by words. But I say to you, in the beginning was the Word, and by the Word was all made that was made. If words can create worlds, can they not also call forth dollars? If words can set planets in their orbits, can they not arrange your affairs? Men toil and sweat, striving for scraps, while one who knows the law speaks a word and receives. The world laughs, but the law does not laugh, it obeys. And while the doubter struggles, the believer prospers. So I ask you, what names are you calling money? Have you been calling it scarce, hard, elusive, never enough? If so, you have driven it from your life. Begin today to call it by its true name. Say daily, money is divine substance. Money is my faithful servant. Money comes to me quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways. Do not wait for proof before you speak. Speak, and proof will follow. Do not look into the empty purse and sigh. Look into it and declare, "This is full, overflowing, inexhaustible." The subconscious does not ask if it is true, it obeys your word and then shapes your affairs to match. Remember this: God is the source, money is the channel. You need not fear channels drying up, for the fountain never fails. If one channel closes, another will open. But if you curse the stream, you cut yourself off from the fountain, bless the stream, and you keep yourself aligned with the source. So fix these words in your heart: God is my supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak them morning and night. Speak them over your purse, over your work, over your bills, over your future. Refuse to call money by false names. Refuse to curse the servant God has given you. Call it faithful, call it abundant, call it obedient, and it will obey. And now that you know the formula of words, you must also know the formula of action. For words without works are dead. Faith must be proven by preparation. Let us move now into the law of preparation, where you act as though the supply is already here, and in so doing, you unlock the channel of abundance. Here is the next step in the great formula, and it is one that many stumble over. It is not enough to speak abundance while living as though poverty ruled you. Words alone will not avail if your actions contradict them. Faith must be proven by preparation. To say, "God is my supply," and then to act as if supply will never come, is to cancel your own command. The universe listens not only to your words but to your works, and when the two agree, the law is fulfilled without fail. The scripture says, "Faith without works is dead," and indeed, it is dead speech to declare wealth while walking in the vibration of fear, while clutching every coin as though God's supply were uncertain, while refusing to prepare for the very abundance you are calling. But when you prepare as though your riches are already here, when you make ready for the feast before the table is spread, when you dig your ditches before the rain falls, then the law has no choice but to fill your preparation with the substance of supply. Think of the story in the Bible of the 3 kings who wandered in the desert with no water for their armies or their beasts. They cried out for relief, and the prophet Elisha gave them a command that must have sounded absurd. "Ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain. Yet make this valley full of ditches." Imagine their reasoning minds protesting. Why dig ditches in a dry desert where no rain is in sight? Yet they obeyed. They dug the ditches as if water were already rushing to fill them. And in the morning, the valley was full of water, though no rain had fallen, and their armies and their cattle drank and were saved. Do you see the law? They prepared in faith, and God filled their preparation. If they had refused to dig, the blessing could not have come. So it is in your life. If you say, "I believe supply is on its way," yet you make no room for it, you take no step toward it, you refuse to prepare, then you reveal that you do not believe. Faith that does not prepare is not faith, but doubt wearing a mask. But the moment you act as if your good is already here, you prove your faith, and God rushes to meet you with substance. I recall a woman who longed for an apartment in New York at a time when apartments were impossible to find. Her friends told her it was hopeless, that she should give up, store her furniture, and accept defeat. But she would not. She declared daily, "Infinite Spirit opens the way for my right apartment." Then one day she had a prompting to buy new blankets. For a moment she hesitated, reasoning, "Why buy blankets when I have no place to lay them?" But then she remembered, preparation proves faith. She bought the blankets, acting as if the apartment were already hers. Soon after, out of hundreds of applicants, she alone was given a beautiful apartment, exactly what she desired. The blankets had been her ditches, and God filled them with water. Another man desired a trip abroad, but had no money. He declared, "I give thanks for my divinely designed trip, divinely financed, under grace, in perfect ways." But he did not stop there. He went out and bought a trunk for the voyage. He looked at that trunk every day, seeing himself already boarding the ship, already on the ocean, already walking the streets of the foreign land. Soon after, the money arrived, the opportunity opened, and he took the trip in every detail he had imagined. His trunk was his ditch, and God filled it. Do you see now why it is not enough to speak without preparing? If you declare abundance, but clutch your purse in fear, your fear has canceled your faith. If you affirm wealth, but refuse to make room for it, you have closed the door. If you speak freedom but still bow to lack in your actions, you prove you do not believe. But if you prepare, if you take one bold step as though your good were already here, then you prove your faith, and the law never fails to respond. So I ask you, what ditch will you dig today? What step will you take to prove your belief? Will you buy the blankets for the home you have not yet seen? Will you set aside a place for the money you have not yet received? Will you write the acceptance letter for the job you have not yet been offered? Will you give thanks for the voyage before the ticket is in your hand? Do something now that proves you believe, and watch how swiftly the law fills your preparation with substance. Never forget. Faith speaks, and then it acts. Faith declares, and then it prepares. Faith proves itself by obedience, and God always honors proof. So do not merely say, I believe, show that you believe. Prepare as though your good is already here, and soon you will see it rushing to meet you. And now that you know the law of preparation, we must deal with the enemy that often rises to cancel it, fear. For many begin well, they speak, they prepare, and then fear creeps in and erases it all. So let us now turn to break the grip of fear and doubt, and see how to cast them out once and for all. Now I must speak plainly, for this truth cannot be softened. Fear is not weakness. Fear is not merely emotion. Fear is faith, but faith turned upside down. Fear is faith in evil. Fear is faith that the wrong thing will happen, that lack is waiting at your door, that sickness is stalking your body, that loss is crouching in the shadows. Fear is the creative force of the soul misused, for the same law that brings your good when you believe will bring your ruin when you fear. This is why Jesus rebuked his disciples in the storm, saying, Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? He knew that fear and faith cannot dwell together. One must rule and the other must flee. If fear rules, faith is gone. If faith rules, fear dissolves. Every moment of your life you are choosing, will you put your faith in God, or will you put your faith in evil? I knew a man who became obsessed with a rare disease. He read about it, studied its symptoms, imagined its grip upon his body. He rehearsed the picture so vividly that it consumed him. His reasoning mind said, it is unlikely, it is rare, but his subconscious received the stronger seed, the seed of fear. And the law is exact. The thing I greatly feared has come upon me, said Job, and so it was with this man. His body, faithful servant of the subconscious, manifested the very disease he dreaded, and it carried him off. Was it chance? No, it was law. Fear had painted the picture, and the subconscious had obeyed. And what of you? Perhaps you do not fear disease, but how many fear bills? How many fear debts, fear unemployment, fear failure, fear rejection? They sit in their rooms rehearsing it. What if I can't pay? What if I lose my job? What if the money never comes? What if I am left behind? Each thought is a prayer to the wrong God. Each fear is a seed, and the subconscious, exact and unchanging, brings forth the harvest in kind. They say, why does lack always find me? Why do troubles multiply? And I answer, because you have been faithful in your fear. You have believed more in evil than in good. You have put your faith in want instead of in supply. But I say to you today, fear has no power except the power you give it. It is a shadow, a mist, a false god. The antidote is always at hand, the spoken word of truth. When fear rises, do not argue with it, do not bow before it, do not let it linger. Cast it out at once with a word. Say, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Say it boldly, aloud, with the force of conviction. Say it until the vibration of your own words shatters the picture of fear. Say it until you feel the presence of God within you, stronger than any shadow without you. Fear cannot withstand a word of truth, spoken with faith. It flees like darkness before the rising Sunday. Let me caution you here. For many fall into another trap. They hear this law and then begin to fear their own fear. They say, if one fearful thought comes to me, will I destroy myself? If I imagine lack for a moment, is my good ruined? And so they live in terror of their own minds. That is inverted faith once again. Do not fear fear, do not tremble at its shadow. One word of faith is stronger than 1,000 fears. One candle drives out a lifetime of darkness. So one declaration of truth dissolves the accumulation of years of fear. Say it calmly, say it boldly, say it as one who knows, I will fear no evil, For God is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And the shadow will vanish. So I ask you now, where have you been placing your faith? Have you given more faith to debts than to supply? Have you given more faith to disease than to health? Have you given more faith to failure than to success? Turn it today. Withdraw your faith from evil. Place it in God. Withdraw your words from fear. Place them in truth. Withdraw your imagination from lack. Place it upon abundance. For the law will obey either way, but the harvest depends on the seed you sow. Remember this. Fear is inverted faith, but faith in God is the only true power. Choose faith, speak faith, live faith, and you will see that what once terrified you dissolves like smoke, leaving only the bright solidity of abundance beneath your feet. And now that you see fear is nothing but faith inverted, let us step into the shield that makes you unassailable, the law of non-resistance, where you refuse to wrestle with shadows and learn how to let truth dissolve every false picture. Now I must show you a shield so powerful that no shadow of fear, no picture of lack, no wave of doubt can pierce it. It is the law of non-resistance. Most men and women live exhausted because they are forever wrestling with shadows, arguing with appearances, pushing against the very conditions they fear. They resist, and in resisting, they give their energy to the thing resisted. They feed it, strengthen it, keep it alive. But the law is clear. What you resist, you attract. What you fight, you fix. What you fear, you feed. The only true defense is not struggle but serenity, not panic but peace, not resistance but rest in the truth. Non-resistance does not mean weakness. It does not mean you submit to evil. It means you refuse to grant evil reality. It means you refuse to argue with shadows. It means you stand still and declare, God is the only power, and nothing else has authority in my life. Think of how much energy is wasted in worry. Worry is nothing but imagination run wild in the wrong direction. Worry is the mind painting pictures of disaster, rehearsing calamities, bowing down to images of loss that have no substance except the faith given to them. A worrier spends his days building altars to false gods, and then wonders why his prayers go unanswered. Worry is resistance. Worry is wrestling with wind. Worry is faith in evil. But the one who practices non-resistance looks at the same storm, the same bill, the same report, and says calmly, this has no power. God is my supply. God is my health. God is my shield. I rest in truth. And that calm word dissolves the shadow faster than all the frantic struggle in the world. I once knew a businessman who lived in torment because of his worry. Every transaction filled him with dread. Every rumor shook his confidence. He resisted every obstacle with fear, and the more he fought, the more trouble came. Then one day, while waiting for a train, he noticed a sign on the wall that read, "Why worry? It will probably never happen." That simple phrase pierced him. He laughed, and in that laugh the chain snapped. He said to himself, I have wasted years worrying about things that never came to pass. I will stop. From that day forward, he practiced non-resistance. When fear arose, he refused to argue. He said calmly, "Why worry? God is my supply, and nothing else matters." His affairs changed, his business prospered, and his health returned. He had put on the shield of non-resistance. Now let me give you a practical formula for this law. When fear rises, do not fight it. Do not try to crush it by force. Simply say, I smash and demolish every untrue record in my subconscious. They return to the dust heap of nothingness, for they came from nothing and are nothing. I now make my perfect records through the Christ within records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Speak these words with calm authority and feel the false pictures dissolve. They are nothing. They have no substance. They have no reality. Replace them at once with the true picture: yourself rich, yourself healthy, yourself guided, yourself free. The subconscious, faithful and obedient, erases the false and engraves the new. So I ask you, what storms are you fighting today? What shadows are you wrestling with? What appearances have you been giving power by your resistance? Let them go. Do not feed them with fear. Do not bow to them with worry. Stand still. Speak the word. Rest in the knowledge that God is the only power and all else is mist. This is non-resistance. It is the shield that nothing can pierce. And remember this, resistance creates tension, but non-resistance creates flow. The river does not resist the rock, it flows around it, and in time the rock is worn away. The light does not resist the darkness it shines, and the darkness vanishes of itself. So you need not resist fear, you need not resist lack, you need not resist delay. Stand in the light of truth, and the shadows will melt. Rest in God's supply, and lack will dissolve. Affirm love, and discord will vanish. This is the shield of non-resistance, and with it, you walk through storms unharmed, through fire unburned, through waters undrowned. And now that you know how to shield yourself against fear and dissolve doubt, you are ready to move into the next revelation, the inner compass of prosperity, the voice of God within you, intuition, which will lead you step by step into your fortune. Now we come to one of the greatest gifts of the Spirit, a gift so near and so constant that most overlook it, and yet it is the very compass that can guide you into freedom and fortune. It is intuition, the voice of God within. I call it God's wireless, for it speaks without wires, without noise, without effort, sending its message straight from spirit to your soul. It is not loud. It does not shout. It does not argue. It whispers, it nudges, it suggests, and when you obey, it always leads you into safety, into success, into supply. Most people fail to hear it, not because it is absent, but because their minds are filled with fear, with noise, with the clamors of reason and the opinions of others. The still small voice is drowned out by the roar of the world. But when you speak the word of truth daily, when you bless instead of curse, when you quiet the storm of fear, the channel is cleared, the static dissolves, and suddenly that voice is unmistakable. I have said to my students many times, never violate a hunch, for a hunch is often the first whisper of intuition. It may seem foolish to the reasoning mind, it may look absurd to those around you, it may defy appearances, but if it is a true hunch, it is divine direction. To obey is to step into the flow of supply. To ignore is to shut the door to your good. A woman once came to me with only $8, fearful and discouraged. We blessed the $8, we spoke for multiplication, and then I asked her, "Have you a hunch to do anything?" She hesitated, saying, "Only that I should go home, though it seems wasteful to spend my last coins on car fare." I said, "Obey your hunch. The voice of God will not lead you astray." She obeyed. She went home, and there she met an old friend who opened for her a channel of abundance, and thousands soon poured into her life. She said afterward, "Tell them about the woman who had $8 and a hunch." And so I do, because it proves this law beyond argument. Intuition is God's compass, and it never fails. Now you may ask, how can I tell the difference between intuition and fear, between the voice of God and the voice of my imagination? The test is simple. Fear pushes, intuition leads. Fear shouts, intuition whispers. Fear agitates, intuition assures. Fear leaves you restless, intuition brings peace. Even before results come, the true inner voice gives you a sense of calm certainty, as though an invisible hand were guiding you. When you obey, that peace deepens. When you disobey, it departs. That is how you know. Another student of mine longed for work but found every door closed. She spoke the affirmation, "I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay." Soon after, she felt a sudden impulse to walk into a certain building, though she had no appointment and no clear reason. Reason said, "Don't go." Fear said, "You will be turned away." But intuition whispered, "Go." She obeyed, and there she met the very person who gave her the position she had been praying for, a position far greater than she imagined. Reason would have kept her out. Fear would have held her back. Intuition led her in. So I ask you, how many times have you silenced that whisper? How many times have you brushed aside a hunch as foolish, as nothing, as imagination? How many doors have closed because you would not obey the knock within? You must learn to trust that voice. Each time you obey, it grows clearer. Each time you ignore, it grows fainter. Each act of obedience proves your faith. Each act of disobedience shuts the channel of supply. The difference between the one who prospers and the one who fails is often nothing more than this. The prosperous obeyed their intuition, the other did not. So remember, intuition is not rare. It is not occasional, it is constant, it is the divine voice always speaking. The problem is not that God is silent, it is that you have not yet stilled yourself to listen. Begin now. Clear the channel with words of truth. Quiet the noise of fear. Refuse to let reason drown the whisper. And when the nudge comes, when the hunch appears, obey without delay. For intuition is the voice of God within, and it will lead you step by step into the riches that belong to you by divine right. Now let me show you how a single hunch, obeyed in faith, can turn a trickle into a flood, a little into much, a last dollar into a river of supply. For intuition does not always reveal the whole path, it whispers only the next step. And many miss their fortune because they will not move without seeing the end from the beginning. But God's wireless seldom gives you the end in advance. It says only, go here, do this, call there, speak this word. And when you obey the small prompting, the larger picture unfolds. Supply multiplies not in the hand of the doubter, but in the hand of the obedient. I recall again the woman with only $8. She came to me weary, trembling with fear, convinced that she had reached her end. I said, we will bless the $8, and we will declare, God is my supply, and great avalanches of abundance now flow to me, under grace, in perfect ways. Then I asked her, have you a hunch to do anything? She hesitated, ashamed to answer. Only that I should go home, she said softly, though it seems foolish to spend my last coins on car fare. But I said, never violate a hunch. That quiet impulse is the voice of God. If he says go, go. If he says act, act. She obeyed. She spent the car fare, she went home, and there she encountered an old friend who had been searching for her. A friend who soon opened a channel of abundance, and within days she was surrounded with thousands. She said afterward, tell them about the woman who had $8 and a hunch, and I tell it to you now because it proves the law, a hunch obeyed multiplies supply. Do you see the principle? She might have reasoned it away. She might have said, it is foolish, it is wasteful, it makes no sense, and she would have sat in her fear, holding her $8 until it dwindled to nothing. But because she obeyed, the channel of abundance opened. The hunch was the key, and her obedience turned the key in the lock. Many are praying for their supply, declaring their affirmations, yet when the hunch comes, they ignore it. They wait for lightning to strike, for a windfall to fall into their laps, while the small, quiet whisper of spirit goes unheeded. And so they block their own good. Understand this, a hunch is never random, it is never accident, it is never coincidence, it is law. It is the exact guidance you need for the next step into your abundance. The reasoning mind will often scoff at it, but faith does not scoff. Faith obeys. Faith says, I need not see the end, I will take the step. And in taking the step, the next door opens, and the next, until you look back and marvel at how perfectly the road unfolded. Another student of mine desired work but had no opening. She declared, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. Soon she had a hunch to go to a certain building. She had no appointment, no reason to be there, nothing but the quiet voice within saying, go. Fear said, you will look foolish. Reason said, you will be turned away. But intuition whispered, go. She obeyed, and there she met the very person who opened the door to her perfect work. She told me later, had I delayed even a day, the opportunity would have been gone. A hunch obeyed multiplies supply. So I ask you now, what hunch have you been ignoring? What quiet whisper have you dismissed as nothing? What nudge have you reasoned away? That may be the very key to your abundance. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. Do not demand the whole map before you take the first step. Obey the whisper, and the path will appear beneath your feet. Remember this. Supply is not multiplied by fear, nor by doubt, nor by clinging to appearances. It is multiplied by faith in action, by obedience to intuition, by trust in the divine whisper. Never violate a hunch. Obey, and you will see your small seed multiply into a harvest beyond imagining. And now that you see how a hunch, when obeyed, multiplies supply, let us go deeper still, into the mystery of giving, not blind giving, but giving by intuition, which keeps the river of abundance flowing without end. Now let me reveal to you a law that many resist, and yet it is the very law that keeps the river of abundance flowing. The law of giving, but not giving blindly, not giving out of fear, not giving out of duty, but giving by intuition. For true giving is not forced, It is not reluctant. It is not the grudging coin tossed into the plate. True giving is joyous, spontaneous, divinely directed. It is led by the whisper of intuition, by the inner voice that says, "Give this now, bless this person, release this gift." And when you obey that whisper, the channels of supply burst open, and what you give returns to you multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The reasoning mind protests. If I give, I will have less. But the Spirit declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." The subconscious accepts the act of faith, records it as proof of abundance, and soon the law fulfills itself in ways that astonish you. I recall a woman who had very little, scarcely enough to provide for herself. One day, she felt a sudden hunch to give a small gift to someone in greater need. At first she resisted, saying, "How can I give when I have so little? If I let this go, I will be left with nothing." But the whisper pressed on her heart, and she obeyed. She gave with joy, trusting that she was sowing a seed, not losing a possession. And soon after, unexpected money came into her hands, multiplied far beyond what she had released. She told me, "The more I follow these promptings, the more I see the law in action. Each gift returns to me multiplied." And indeed it must, for she was giving by intuition, and intuition never leads into lack. The world teaches hoarding. It says, "Save for a rainy day, guard every coin, hold tightly to what little you have." And so men and women live in constant fear of the rainy day they are always preparing for, building barns to hold what moth and rust destroy, clutching their substance until it turns to dust in their hands. But the one who gives by intuition, who obeys the whisper without fear, finds that there is no rainy day, for the sun of supply shines constantly upon them. They are like rivers, always flowing, never stagnant, never dry. For you cannot outgive God, and the more you let flow through you, the more will flow to you. And let me say this, giving is not always money. Sometimes the Spirit prompts you to give a word of encouragement, a gift of service, a smile, an act of kindness. Whatever the whisper directs, that is the seed you must plant, and the harvest will be in kind. If you give joy, joy returns. If you give love, love rushes back. If you give money, money multiplies in your affairs. The law is precise. Every seed returns in kind and greater. So I ask you, how many times have you silenced that whisper? How many times has the nudge come to bless someone, to release a gift, to give of yourself, and you have said, "Not now, not today, I cannot afford it"? And how many times has your river of supply seemed to dry up after? It is because you closed the channel. The river flows as you give. The moment you obey, the channel opens again, and the current of abundance rushes in. Here is the practice. When the hunch comes, when the whisper says, "Give," do not argue, do not delay. Do not reason. Obey at once, joyfully, knowing that you are not losing but multiplying. As you give, say, "This gift blesses and multiplies. It returns to me increased, under grace, in perfect ways." Then release it with thanksgiving. And soon you will see the harvest return, often through channels you never imagined. For remember this, giving by intuition is not sacrifice, it is strategy. It is not loss, it is increase. It is not subtraction, it is multiplication. It is the law of circulation, and it is as exact as gravity. When you obey the whisper to give, you prove that you trust God as your supply, and God always proves himself faithful. So listen, for the voice of God within you will not only tell you where to go and what step to take, it will also tell you when to give, how to give, and to whom to give. And each time you obey, the river of abundance flows stronger, wider, deeper, until your life overflows with riches beyond measure. And now that you see how giving by intuition keeps the current of supply alive, we must turn to the final proof of faith, obedience itself. For intuition may whisper, but unless you obey, the blessing cannot appear. Let us move into the law of obedience, where faith is proved by action, and miracles are released without delay. Now let me speak to you of the golden key that unlocks every hunch, every whisper, every divine direction: obedience. For intuition may whisper, faith may declare, preparation may be made, but if you will not obey when the moment comes, your good stands waiting at the door and you never open it. Obedience is the final proof of faith. It is the act that turns invisible substance into visible supply. Many hear the whisper, many feel the nudge, many sense the call, but they hesitate, they reason, they delay. They say, perhaps later, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps it was only my imagination. And in that hesitation, the door closes. The good that was waiting slips away. The opportunity passes to another. The supply vanishes like a dream. The law requires proof, and proof is obedience. I recall a man who longed for new work, new direction, a fresh beginning. He prayed, he affirmed, he declared, but nothing moved. Then one day, he felt a sudden impulse to walk into a certain building. He had no appointment, no reason to go, no business there. Reason said, "It is foolish." Fear said, "You will be turned away." But the hunch pressed him. He remembered what I had said. Never violate a hunch. So he obeyed. Inside that building he encountered an old acquaintance who greeted him with joy and offered him a position that became the very gateway to his prosperity. He said afterward, "Had I reasoned it away, had I delayed even one day, I would have missed it. Obedience changed my life in an instant." Another woman told me she often felt impulses to do small things but always ignored them, saying, "It cannot be God. It is only my imagination." And because she ignored them, her life was full of missed chances and repeated disappointments. But one day, she determined to obey. She felt a sudden nudge to take a different road home. It made no sense, yet she listened. Later she discovered that had she gone her usual way, she would have been caught in a serious accident. From that day on, she said, "I will never ignore again. I will never silence the voice within." And her life began to prosper, for obedience proved her faith, and her faith unlocked her supply. Do you see? The inner voice seldom gives you the whole plan at once. It will not unfold tomorrow until you obey today. The next step will not appear until you take the one before you. Faith demands obedience in the moment, and only then is the path revealed. That is why so many wander. They wait for the whole road to be shown, but the law does not work that way. It says, "Take this step, and then I will show you the next." If you refuse, the road remains hidden. If you obey, the road appears beneath your feet. And let me tell you, obedience is often tested in little things before it is trusted with great. A whisper to write a letter, to make a call, to give a gift, to change a plan. These small commands are the training ground. If you prove faithful in the small, the larger will follow. But if you despise the small, if you reason them away, you will not hear clearly when the larger call comes. Many cry out, "Why is God silent?" He is not silent. You have simply stopped obeying the small whispers, and so the channel has grown faint. Restore it with obedience, and the voice will grow clear again. So I ask you, what whisper have you been ignoring? What hunch have you reasoned away? What inner nudge have you put off until tomorrow? Go back and obey. Do it today. For your supply may be waiting on the other side of that act. The blessing may be standing at the threshold, waiting only for you to open the door. Obedience is not loss, it is gain. It is not bondage, it is freedom. It is not surrender to something less, it is alignment with something greater. Remember this, every act of obedience is proof of faith, and faith proved is faith rewarded. The law does not delay. When you obey, doors open, channels flow, supply hastens. Do not wait, do not reason, do not delay. Obey the whisper, and you will find that every step you take leads straight into the fortune that has been yours all along. And now that you see obedience is the final seal upon intuition, let us move to the crown of all prosperity, the truth of divine right riches, the law that ensures your wealth brings no sorrow but only joy, and that what is truly yours can never be taken from you. Now we come to the crown of prosperity, the highest law of supply, the truth that separates fleeting wealth from eternal riches. Only that which is yours by divine right will endure, and only divine right riches bring joy without sorrow. The world is filled with people who have forced their way into wealth, who have gained fortunes by cunning, by deceit, by fear, or by striving, and though they may glitter for a season, look closely and you will see the shadow that follows. Their nights are filled with worry, their homes are filled with discord, their health is drained by anxiety, and their riches, instead of blessing them, become chains about their necks. For the scripture says plainly, "The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it." This is the test, and it is infallible. If your wealth adds sorrow, it is not from God. If it brings peace, joy, freedom, and blessing, then you know it is yours by divine right. I once counseled a woman who longed to marry a certain man. She prayed for him, pleaded for him, tried to force the law to give her what she thought she wanted. But I said to her, I will not speak the word for you to have him, for he may not be yours by divine right. If he is, nothing can keep him. If he is not, you would not be happy with him. Instead, we will speak for your right man, the one chosen for you by divine law. If this one is yours, he will return. If not, his equivalent will appear. She agreed, though her heart was reluctant. In time, the man drifted away, and another appeared, a man who was everything she had longed for, everything she had imagined, and more. She said to me, "It is uncanny, he is all that I wanted the other to be." And so it was, for the law had removed the counterfeit and given her the true. That is divine right. So it is with money. Some gather riches that are not theirs by right. They claw, they clutch, they trick, they strive, and for a season they may succeed, but soon those riches slip away or turn into burdens. Lawsuits consume them, quarrels divide them, sickness robs them, fear drains them. Wrong riches carry sorrow as their shadow. But when wealth comes by divine right, it flows easily, it remains securely, it blesses abundantly. It does not come by toil but by alignment. It does not bring anxiety but peace. It does not lead to sorrow but to joy. You may ask, but how do I know if the riches before me are mine by divine right? The answer is simple. Test them by peace. Do they bring you joy or do they trouble you? Do they expand your life or do they narrow it? Do they make you free or do they bind you tighter? Do they give you room to bless others or do they make you grasp and cling? Divine right riches always expand, always free, always bless. Wrong riches always shrink, always bind, always curse. The law is clear and cannot be deceived. Therefore I tell you, never envy another's fortune, never covet another's wealth, never chase what does not belong to you. Speak instead, that which is mine by divine right is now released to me. It comes quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways. When you declare this, you release the counterfeit and call in the true. And when the true comes, you will know it, for it will bring no sorrow with it. So I ask you now, what riches are you clutching that bring no joy? What possessions weigh you down instead of lifting you up? What blessings have turned to burdens? Release them. Do not fear their loss. If they are yours by divine right, they will remain. If not, something better will take their place. The law never leaves a void. Remember this, divine right riches are eternal. They cannot be stolen, they cannot be lost, they cannot be destroyed. They are your inheritance by law, and they will bless you all the days of your life. Wrong riches may glitter for a season, but they vanish like smoke. Right riches shine forever, and their light carries no shadow. And now that you see the test of wealth, that only divine right riches endure without sorrow, we must go deeper still, into the echo of desire itself. For every true desire is not a lie but the whisper of your divine design, calling you into fulfillment. Now let me tell you the secret that lies at the heart of your every longing, the key that unlocks the mystery of why you desire it all. Every true desire that rises within you is not accident, not whim, not idle fancy. It is the echo of your divine design, calling you forward into the fulfillment already prepared for you. The thing you deeply desire is the thing that belongs to you by right. The dream that returns again and again is not mocking you, it is guiding you. God does not plant hunger where there is no bread. He does not plant thirst where there is no water. He does not plant desire where there is no fulfillment. The desire itself is the signal that its supply is already waiting. The world will tell you otherwise. It will say, desire nothing, for you will only be disappointed. It will say, be realistic. Settle for what you can get. Do not reach too high. Do not dream too big. And so men shrink their desires to match their fears, and then they wonder why their lives are small. They bury their longings, silence their visions, and live in gray resignation. But the one who dares to honor desire, who dares to say, this longing is the voice of God within me, will see that every true desire carries its own fulfillment. Desire is not the enemy. Desire is the compass pointing you to what is already yours. I recall a man who longed for a certain kind of work. He said, "It is too fine a position, too great for me. I cannot expect it." But I told him, "The very fact that you desire it proves that it is yours by divine right. Speak the word. I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay." He obeyed. He affirmed. He refused to be shaken by appearances, and in time, the very position he had thought beyond him opened for him. He said afterward, "I had been blind. The desire itself was proof that the way was prepared." Another woman came to me, longing for a home, a certain kind of house, in a certain place. She said, "It is impossible. I have not the means." But I told her, "The desire proves its fulfillment. Speak daily. I give thanks for my divinely designed home, under grace, in perfect ways." She did so, and soon the exact home she had pictured was placed in her hands, easily, without strain, without debt. She walked into the very vision she had held in her heart. Do you not see? Your desires are not vain. They are divine signals. They are God's way of saying, "This is already yours, rise and claim it." Of course there are false desires, born of envy, pride, or imitation, and these will dissolve. But the deep, persistent, joyous desire that returns again and again, that is the echo of your divine design. That is the key to your fortune. So I ask you, what desire burns in your heart today? What dream refuses to die, no matter how often you try to silence it? What vision returns to you at night, whispering of another life, another work, another wealth, another joy? Do not dismiss it, do not bury it, do not call it impossible. Say instead, "This desire is the voice of God within me. Its fulfillment is already prepared. I claim it now, under grace, in perfect ways." For remember this, desire is never cruel. It is never vain. It is never planted without the power to fulfill it. It is the echo of your divine right, the signal of your destiny, the voice of God pointing you to the riches prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And now that you understand desire as destiny's whisper, we must look at the law that protects you when your longing is set on the wrong thing, the merciful law of substitution, which takes away the counterfeit and gives you the true equivalent. Now I must tell you of a merciful law that has spared many from ruin and lifted them into joy, though at the time they wept and thought themselves forsaken. It is the law of substitution. This law declares that if the thing you seek, the thing you demand, the thing you strive for is not yours by divine right, you shall not have it. But in its place, the true equivalent, the perfect substitute, will be given. At first this feels like denial, like loss, like the closing of a door. People cry out, "Why has God withheld this from me?" But I say to you, God never withholds. He only protects, He never denies, He only substitutes. He never leaves you empty. He only clears the counterfeit to make room for the true. I recall a woman who was set on marrying a certain man. She said to me, "He is the one. Speak the word that he may be mine." But I told her, I cannot. To pray for a particular person is to try to force the law. If he is yours by divine right, nothing can keep him. If he is not, then you would not be happy, for he belongs to another. Instead, we will declare, "I give thanks for my right man, who now comes to me quickly, easily, joyously, under grace, in perfect ways. If this man is the right one, he will return. If not, his equivalent will appear." She agreed, though with a heavy heart. In time, the man drifted away, and another appeared, a man who matched her in every way, who was all she had longed for, and more. She came to me later, radiant, saying, "He is everything I desired in the other, and beyond." That was the law of substitution. The counterfeit dissolved. The true equivalent appeared. The same law governs money, work, and possessions. A student of mine once sought a certain position. She declared for it, she longed for it, she demanded it. But the door shut, and she was denied. She wept, thinking her prayer had failed. Yet soon after, a better position opened, greater pay, greater freedom, greater joy. She told me afterward, "Had I been given the first, I would have been trapped. Now I see the law spared me and gave me better." That is substitution. The law does not cheat you, it saves you from sorrow. So I tell you, never cling in terror to a thing. Never cry, "I must have this or I perish." Never beat at a closed door demanding entrance. If it is yours by right, the door will swing wide. If it is not, the law will close it, and in time you will bless that it was closed. Say instead, if this is mine by divine right, it is secure. If it is not, then its perfect substitute, its true equivalent, now appears. And then stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Think of it as a child clinging to a toy too small, unwilling to let it go. The parent pries it from his hand, not to leave him empty, but to give him something better, more fitting, more joyous. So it is with God. He takes the wrong to make space for the right. He removes the lesser to give you the greater. He clears the counterfeit to give you the genuine. And when you receive it, you will marvel and say, "Now I understand why the first was denied. This is far better." So I ask you, what are you clutching today that may not be yours by right? What door are you demanding open that God in His mercy has closed? What possession, what position, what relationship have you been forcing, though it brings you no peace? Release it, trust the law. Declare, that which is mine by divine right is now released to me, and its perfect equivalent now appears, under grace, in perfect ways. Then rest. Then watch. Then rejoice when the substitute arrives. For remember this, God never withholds, He only substitutes. And when the true comes, it brings no sorrow, no struggle, no shadow. It blesses, it endures, it frees. The law of substitution is mercy in action, and it will never fail you. And now that you see how wrong desires are mercifully replaced by right equivalents, let us finish this journey with the affirmation of divine right work and divine right. Pay the formula that secures not only wealth, but joyous service and perfect reward. Now we come to a truth that touches the daily life of every man and woman, for it concerns the very labor of your hands, the service of your heart, and the wages of your work. Many live bound in toil, grinding at tasks they despise, serving in places that suffocate them, receiving wages that insult the effort they give. They sigh, "I must do this to survive. I must stay though I am unhappy. I must accept little though I give much." And so they chain themselves to bondage, believing there is no escape. But I say to you, just as there are divine right riches, there is also divine right work. There is a place prepared for you where your gift is valued, your service is blessed, your work is joyous, and your pay is perfect. You are not called to grind in fear. You are called to give perfect service for perfect pay in a perfect way. That is your birthright, and when you claim it, the law will make it manifest. I have taught my students this affirmation. I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. These are not idle words. They are a command to the law of supply. They are a claim upon your inheritance. Speak them daily and believe, and you will see your circumstances rearranged to match them. A woman once came to me weary and bitter. She had worked for years in a place that drained her strength and paid her little. She said, "I cannot leave, for I have nothing else." I told her, "Begin today to declare, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. Bless where you are, but speak for what is yours by right." She obeyed. Soon after, a door opened to her, and she was offered a position far better than she had imagined. Joyous work, generous pay, delightful conditions. She said, "It feels as though this place was waiting for me." Indeed it was, for the word she spoke had prepared it. Another student, a man who had been unemployed for months, came to me in despair. He said, "I have knocked on every door, sent every application, and nothing opens." I told him, "Stop begging, stop chasing, stop knocking at locked doors, speak the word. Say daily, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay." Then act as though it were already here. He obeyed. He prepared his tools, though he had no work. He pressed his clothes, though he had no office to wear them in. He walked as though he were already employed. Soon after, he was offered a position that matched his talents perfectly, with pay beyond what he had earned before. He said afterward, "I had exhausted myself trying. One word of truth opened the door with ease." Do you see the law? The world says, "Take what you can get, even if it crushes you." But the Spirit says, "Only what is yours by divine right will bless you. Claim it, and it will appear." Wrong work carries sorrow. Right work brings joy. Wrong wages breed resentment. Right pay brings freedom. You are not designed to be exploited, to serve in bitterness, to labor in fear. You are designed to give joyfully, to serve faithfully, to prosper abundantly. So I ask you, what words are you speaking over your work today? Do you say, I hate this job, I am underpaid, I am stuck? Those words bind you where you are. Or will you begin today to say, I have a perfect work in a perfect way, I give perfect service for perfect pay? Speak it not as a hope but as a decree. The law will hear, the channels will shift, the place prepared for you will open, and you will walk into it, marveling that what once seemed impossible has come with ease. For remember this, divine right work and divine right pay are yours now. The moment you speak, you claim them. The moment you prepare, you prove them. The moment you obey the inner voice, you step into them. They cannot be denied, for they are part of your inheritance, sealed from the beginning. And now that you see how the law secures even your work and your wages, let us bring this entire lesson to its great conclusion, sealing all that has been spoken with a mighty affirmation and leaving you with the challenge to speak daily, the one formula that makes you rich, off divine supply. And now we come to the close of this lesson. Yet I tell you, it is no end but a beginning, for the word you have heard today has already gone forth. It has planted itself in the soil of your subconscious, and even now, though you may not see it, it is taking root, it is sprouting, it is preparing to burst forth into harvest. If you will water it with daily repetition, if you will guard it with faith, if you will prove it with preparation, if you will obey it with joy, then nothing can stop it. The law is exact, the law is sure, and your fortune will unfold as certainly as the sun rises. Think of what has been shown to you. You have seen that every word is a seed, and the field of your life is nothing but the harvest of yesterday's speech. You have seen that the subconscious does not laugh, it does not excuse, it does not forget it records, and it fulfills. You have seen that curses spoken in ignorance can be broken, and blessings spoken in faith can multiply what little you have into more than enough. You have seen that money is not master but servant, not scarce but abundant, not cruel but obedient, and when you call it by its true name, divine substance, it hastens to appear. You have seen that preparation proves faith, that to dig your ditches before the rain is to guarantee that the valley will be filled with water, that to buy the trunk or the blankets is to make room for the trip and the home that are already yours. You have seen that fear is faith inverted, that doubt is a thief, that worry is wasted imagination, and that the antidote is the word of truth spoken calmly and boldly. You have seen the shield of non-resistance, the refusal to wrestle with shadows, the serenity that dissolves every false picture without struggle. You have seen that intuition is God's wireless, whispering the way step by step, and that a hunch obeyed multiplies supply, while a hunch ignored closes the door. You have seen that even giving, when led by intuition, opens the floodgates of return, and that obedience is the final proof of faith. And you have seen the crown of it all, that only what is yours by divine right endures, that true riches bring no sorrow, that deep desires are the echo of your divine design, that wrong desires are mercifully replaced by the right equivalent, and that you have a perfect work in a perfect way, where you give perfect service for perfect pay. So I say to you now, you are no longer a beggar before life, no longer a slave to fear, no longer a prisoner of appearances. You are a commander under divine law. The word you speak daily is the formula of your fortune. Speak it, prepare for it, obey it, and watch as riches flow to you with ease, under grace, in perfect ways. Let this be your affirmation, your challenge, your daily command. God is my unfailing supply, and great avalanches of abundance now flow to me, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak it morning and night. Speak it over your purse, over your work, over your home, over your future. Speak it for 30 days, and you will see the chains of lack fall away and the doors of fortune swing wide. But before we part, let me open a door of curiosity, for there is one more law, so powerful, so sweeping, that it can overturn years of debt in a single week, that it can dissolve obstacles that have stood against you for years, that it can lift from your shoulders every weight that bows you down. It is the law of casting the burden. In my next lesson, I will reveal it, the mighty command that hands every problem over to God and leaves you free. You must not miss it, for it is the missing piece that will make your prosperity complete. So click now, listen, and step into the next revelation. Let the burden of money melt into blessing. Let the word of truth crown you with abundance. Let the law of divine supply write your future in gold.